I am first and foremost a mother, and I have written many poems about my son, chronicling his growing up, his childhood days, his adolescence, his college years, and then now, when he's quite a man, having a few degrees, a reasonably good career, and happily married. And I'm, of course, a wife, dedicated and supportive. And I'm basically a writer. I joined Thomson Press 2 years after I graduated from university, and first as a features editor for all their magazines, and later slowly, gradually, and eventually I was being promoted to be the managing editor of the Asian Architect and Builder, which is an architectural trade magazine. And by then, writing is no longer a tool for my work. It's more of a pastime, an interest, a hobby, one of my leisure activities. And then I started writing on poetry, and by now I have already published 3 books, and my 4th one is coming. But professionally, I am an accredited family mediator, and before I co-owned an art gallery specializing in contemporary Vietnamese art, mainly on paintings. Poetry is an artistic expression using words. And these collection of words, however they are arranged or presented, must be able to evoke an emotional response from the audience. And so it means that it has to be read out. And when it is read out, the audience can hear the sound, the rhythm, the beat, and they can see, of course, in the mind's eye, the visual image or the pictorial representation of what has been described. Poetry must be able to evoke this feeling of how it has affected you emotionally. So if this piece of work is not able to achieve that, then it is no longer poetry. I think it will be a piece of prose. I think it is very difficult to pinpoint at which particular time, how or when I started wanting to write poetry. I think I have always enjoyed reading since young, and I was able to build up a very strong and robust vocabulary. And this vocabulary will enable you to have a pool of words where you can choose the right word for any particular situation or incident. I think that is a basic thing for any writing, really, not just poetry. And I still remember the 2 books that I have to study for my A-levels exam, and they are Antony and Cleopatra by Shakespeare, The Rape of the Lock by Alexander Pope. And they are so fascinating. I love them so much. I could still remember some of the lines, but I suppose I could memorize all the lines. Alexander Pope is relatively more modern, and The Rape of the Lock is a burlesque of the tallest order. It is so hilarious. Let me just read to you the 4 lines that actually sum up the incident in 4 lines within the whole book. So you can see the satire has gone to the very extreme. The meeting points that sacred hair these sever, from the fair head forever and ever. And then the name of the girl is Belinda, and she felt such rage, resentment, and despair. As thou, sad virgin, for thy ravished hair. Don't you think it's so funny? I could always remember. The ending 4 lines is superb. And so let me read it to you. It's so funny. When those fair suns shall set, the suns means the sun and the moon, but then I don't know why it's in plural, but then in poetry, anything goes. In poetry, you can distort truth, you can exaggerate facts, and just anything. When those fair suns shall set, as set they must, and all those tresses, the hair, shall be laid in dust. This lock the muse shall consecrate to fame, and amidst the stars inscribe Belinda's name. Don't you like it? Yeah, he's so good. So this lock is forever immortalized, I think. And I think he's so inspiring. Perhaps, I refer back to your question, perhaps that's a time when I really wanted to try so much on poetry. I think I draw inspiration from everyday themes like news, stories you hear from the news, or the most mundane things that occur every day that usually go unnoticed, such as, for example, what rape of the lock has done to me. It's so, who would have noticed? And then my first poem is about the mosquito bite. It must be very trivial, but nothing is too trivial for modern poetry. And I still remember I used personification, which is an artistic technique for writing poetry. And I turned the mosquito into a man. I turned him into a person, and with human characteristics, and with complete feelings and emotions, and the 5 senses of touch, taste, sight, smell, sound, and of course now we have the 6th one, which is movement. So we become soldiers who fought very bravely until to the very end, until I kill him. So I raised it again to an epic level, and I still remember the 4 lines at the very end. That is, and I saw the stain, that's my blood, and I saw the stain on my hand, sore with pain, because I've been doing this, so it must be very painful, sore with pain. The shimmering red, that's my blood, so thick and fine, that's once his as well as mine. After a few years of writing rhymes, I want to try free verse. I want to get out from that box, to get out from that structure and form. But without that box, I wrote, no words came. And that is a very difficult journey, but that's the time when my husband came in, and he has been helping me along. My husband, he's a very serious person, but his courtship is very romantic. After we have met several times, he began writing poems to me. He started to give me a poem every Monday, complete with a floral arrangement, every Monday for at least 2.5 years. It has never stopped. And I read every one of them. I was very, very inspired. Most of them were free verses, but of course there are some that rhymes. But I was most inspired and touched by those free verses, and I wanted so much to try. By now, still after finishing a poem, I would say, "Can you just read it?" And then he read it and he said, "Oh, it's very good." And I said, "Come on, change a word or two." But then every time when he changed even one word, it would change even the whole atmosphere, the mood, the tempo. I used to say, in Chinese, we say, 畫龍點睛. You know, I'm the one to draw the dragon, but it is he who actually dots the I on the dragon. That makes a huge difference. So my husband is really my walking stick as we walked through my journey of writing poetry. He's been helping me all along. So I say he's my muse, my light, and my love. That's one of my favorite poems, one of my favorite poems. I'm going to read a few paragraphs from the one I wrote about someone we all know of, and then I'll read to you the one I wrote for my son just very recently. Is that all right? Yes. Well, I'm sure you all know about Michael Jackson. And when I heard about his passing away, I was very, very saddened. I was very saddened because death is something so final, and this finality the whole world will be denied a chance to redeem all the mean things that we have done or we have said, that we have trashed him during his last 10 or 15 years, and now we will never have a chance to redeem ourselves. And so I wrote about him. And I like the title, As He Moonwalked into History, and that is his dance movement. And so he left us suddenly, without warning, returning home to his Heavenly Father, leaving us in a state of utter shock, with a remorse so deep, a regret so mortifying, and a burden too heavy to bear. For it just dawns on us that we are now denied the chance to redeem ourselves from all the mean things we have trashed on him over all these 20 years. He was a paradox, two men in one. We worship the hero in his golden days and sneered at the freak he later became. He was a paradox, two men in one. The unsurpassed king of pop, adored by millions across nations, and the wacko jackal ridiculed by just as many, if not more. He was a paradox, two men in one. He was an African-American entertainer with an unparalleled level of worldwide influence, but he went on to change his face features and his skin color to look more of a Caucasian and a woman. He was a paradox, two men in one. As a child star, he was precocious, and as an adult, he was childlike. Now I'm going to read to you the one I wrote for my son just recently. It seemed but yesterday when I sat next to him. Your young curled up fingers on the piano, playing Clair de Lune for me. Your tone-deaf mother, the only piece she knew how to enjoy then and now still. And suddenly, with a blink of an eye, my little boy is all grown up, having studied in different countries, earned a few degrees, a lawyer initially, and now a banker, like his father, happily married and about to grow a family of his own. For you have taken time to understand yourself. You started early, much earlier than most, when your peers were still playing football or chasing girls. You wanted to search for the true meaning of life and the reasons why there's so much pain and suffering, injustice and inequality, or oppression and abuses in almost every part of the world. And you found some of the answers in Buddhism, a spiritual tradition that focuses on personal spiritual development and attainment of a deep insight into the true meaning of life. And now, as a practicing Buddhist, you believe that life is both endless and subject to impermanence, suffering, and uncertainty. And the only way to bring us secure and lasting happiness is internal transformation through enlightenment by following a spiritual path. And so, my dear son, young as you are, you have reached a state when I could no longer be your light. But please, let me continue to be your soulmate and companion. Do share with me your thoughts and dreams, your worries and anticipations. Let's always make a special time to continue a habit we have started long before you could speak. Sharing, deep sharing, total sharing. Your joy, your sorrow, your achievements, your failures, your ups and downs, your triumphs and defeats, your glory and scars. Yes, I remember all those scars we went through together and how you triumphed over them. No one has yet been spared of scars, and we can't make them disappear, but we can change the way we see them. I'm so impressed that you see them as a tattoo of a triumph to be proud of, a sign of strength and not pain. I see the best parts of myself reflected in you, but you have made them even better. So just let me tell you how proud I am of you and your achievement. I'm so pleased that you have found your path. And I just want you to be true to yourself, and that I will stand by your side on whatever you decide. There are no words to express how much you mean to me. For a son like you, the ultimate definition of a son in every way, is a blessing from heavens. My love for you could stretch around the earth countless times, and when it is covered, it could extend further to all the galaxies. My love for you is stronger than iron and softer than feathers. And if there's a color to describe it, it would be the rainbow. My son, you are the very best, and I love you so. I'm thankful for every moment that we are together, and thank you for making me feel so blessed. As I've said, poetry is more than just a skill set. It is an attitude. It is a way of life. That's how I see it. So I've been living poetry every single day, and I'm able to appreciate the most mundane things, and I'm able to maintain this childlike state of awe and wonder, this sense of amazement and excitement over little things. Because you see, we are just very ordinary people, and we don't have that many great moments in a lifespan. There are just that many great moments. So it's really up to us to create our special moment and make it as frequently as possible, and to enjoy every minute of our moment. And that's how I see it. So I want to open my heart, I welcome my friends into my heart. I want to hear more things, see more things, and to feel, because that's the only way. That's the only way when you open your heart before you can feel. And then suddenly, you see a lot of people, they love to complain. They love to be very negative about things. But if you can see beauty in even the most ordinary little things, even about this plant or this particular flower, a fleeting moment, impression of an object, a scent, a smell, a taste. If you see beauty in all this, I think you will fill your life with beautiful thoughts. You will become more positive. You will have peace in your heart and love. When the external situations or circumstances have remained unchanged, but it's really your mindset. You have changed. We are what we eat physically, but our mind is what our thoughts are. If you have happy thoughts, then you become happy. That's how it should be. And then again, I really believe that you never depend your happiness on other people. You are responsible for your own happiness. And it is through writing poetry that I begin to realize that you have to control your own life and to make it happy or not. My new book is very different from my previous ones. This book is about my friends and of course my family as well, and my immediate family. So I have selected poems I've written for my husband, my son, and my daughter-in-law. There are a total of 54 poems, and there are 4 sections. The first one is about my immediate family, and the second is about the individual friends that I've written for special occasions. I tribute their special occasion. And then the third section is about the groups of friends I have. The last section is about friends who have departed but fondly remembered. So the title of my book is My Magic Circle. It is my circle that has made my life so magical. I've used a circular imagery, so that's called my magic circle. And for the subtitles, I also use a circular imagery. And the first one, it is called A Circle of Endless Love. The second one is Coronet of Priceless Gems. The third one is a garland, again it is circular, a garland of cherished friendship. And the last one is a halo of gentle souls. I have invited my husband to write the foreword for me. My son and my daughter, they have written prologue for me. And I've also invited 6 friends to write preface for me. There will be 9 pieces of essays for you to read about before you go on to read my poems. So I hope you will like the book. It will come out in November, and where we will be having the book launch in Hong Kong.